everybody who ever gets diseased or has any issues related to health, does not know much about different ways or alternative medicines apart from the mainstream allopathy. This is not to say that allopathy is not good. This, of course, it has its own set of benefits, but there is a lot of alternate medicine that does exist, which gives tremendous benefits. But probably all we need is a little bit of knowledge. Now, knowledge is power. It gives tremendous information and a guide to us to figure out what to do right and what are we doing wrong. And because I follow naturopathy over some time now, naturopathy is really a lifestyle change. Naturopathy is really about, it's really not specifically about using certain herbs or going the, regular nuska, home-based nuska, but there's a lot of science associated with it. And as we discuss this topic on bones today, I hope I'm able to bring in a lot of scientific correlation to help you understand how this body functions, a little differently than the kind of, the myths or some beliefs that we've had so far. So if all is well, should we begin?
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you so much. So again, starting off, thank you, Akshay, for giving this opportunity. I think it's great honor. But coming specifically to bones. Now, when we speak about bones, what is the first thing that comes to our mind? So sometimes my knees are paining. Sometimes my finger joints are paining. Sometimes there is stiffness. Sometimes there isn't enough mobility, in my joints. Sometimes we feel that there is some swelling in some joint areas. Sometimes we feel that when we walk, either through our knees or through the hip bone or through sometimes the back, we hear some cracking sounds. Now, what is all of this? Is this, what is this trying to indicate to us? Does every joint pain mean that it is arthritis? Does every pain mean that there is necessarily inflammation? Does it, are we allowed to bear certain pain? Should we believe that as we age, after we reach our 40s or we reach our 50s or we reach our 60s, it's natural to have some aches and pains and body issues? Now, let me start off with believing that it's not natural to be in a diseased condition. It's absolutely unnatural to be in a diseased condition. Your body is the best healer and the best doctor in itself. So it does everything possible to keep you in a healthy state. But unfortunately, partly lifestyle, partly our diet, partly our, the stress levels, our living patterns, the kind of food that we eat, sometimes sedentary lifestyle, and a whole lot of other lifestyle issues take us towards disease. And we tend to believe that because my daddy and my mother had this issue, I will also have it. We tend to believe that because I am over 40 or I am over 50, I will definitely have certain issues. My body is going to go through certain aches and pains. No, that's not the reality. At any point in time, now naturopathy particularly believes that at any point in time, your body has the capability of self-healing. And how does that healing process begin? And it just requires us to change our lifestyle and provide the right environment for our body to enable that healing. Now, because we are specifically on bones, what are the common beliefs that we have about bones? First thing, as soon as we speak about bones, people believe that it is calcium that is going to treat me, So if I have certain aches in my joints, if I have certain problems with my knee, my elbow, whatever, that means I'm calcium deficient. If I take calcium, it's going to heal my bone-related problems. We also believe that calcium is what makes our bones solid. It makes our bones strong. This is what is absolutely required for having healthy bones. Now, let's understand that your bones are not necessarily made only of calcium. What is your bone made of? Your bones are made up of 12 minerals and 64 trace minerals. Now, what are those 12 minerals? It includes calcium, it includes phosphorus, it includes iron, it includes zinc, it includes boron, it includes chromium, it includes a whole lot of other zinc, iron, and potassium. It includes magnesium, it includes manganese, and it also includes 64 trace minerals along with it. So to believe that my bones are going to get strong if I pop in calcium tablets, or to believe that I'm going to have stronger bones if I drink a lot of dairy, is a pure myth, because that is not the only thing that your bones are made of. And your bones require a hell lot of other things. Now, a lot of people have this almost like an addiction of having calcium tablets as soon as they reach their 35 or their 40, because partly sometimes doctors suggest it, and sometimes also because we feel that, after 40s, so you definitely need to take calcium because your body is not going to have strong bones without it. Now, what happens when you have calcium tablets? Now, calcium tablets is, it became a big thing in the last 1 decade or so to have calcium tablets, and partly it was propagated a lot by pharma companies. But the reason always was made to believe that calcium is going to make your bones strong. Now let's understand that if there is anything strong to make if there is anything required to make your bones strong, then it is silica more than calcium. Maybe it is selenium more than calcium, and a whole lot of other things coming into balance. It is as much your diet, as much as your hormonal imbalances. It is as much as you taking care of stress and exercise and your gut microbiome, and a lot of things that have to come into balance to be able to make sure that your body is able to absorb calcium. It is not many times a problem with intake as much as it is a problem with absorption. So why do people say that I'm taking calcium tablets, but I'm still not seeing significant difference in my calcium levels or my bone improvement or bone health improvement? Why do people say that I am popping in a lot of iron tablets, but I still do not see a significant difference in my hemoglobin? Because it's not a problem with intake, it is a problem with absorption. You have to make your body ready to be able to absorb all of this. Now, calcium tablets typically have calcium carbonate. Now, it is closest to tuna. So when we have our pan, and in the pan they put the tuna, this is calcium carbonate. What happens if you take a lot of calcium tablets? Your body, whether you take calcium via calcium tablets, or whether you take calcium through the dietary sources or whatever source, or the dairy or whatsoever, when you take calcium, it sometimes does not get absorbed into your body because you are deficient in vitamin D. Now, vitamin D, which comes from the sun, is going to govern whether or not calcium works into your body. So you may pop in a lot of calcium tablets, you may pop in a lot of calcium-rich food, you may eat a lot of calcium-based stuff, but it still won't make any difference to your body. It will not be absorbed if you are deficient in vitamin D. So it's important to work on certain things. You cannot absorb calcium if you are deficient in magnesium. You cannot absorb calcium if you are deficient in hydrochloric acid, which is your stomach acid. So until all of this, now when hydrochloric acid comes into your body, when vitamin D is active in your body, you're not deficient. When magnesium is not deficient in your body, all of these three things come together and increase the absorption of calcium by 30%. Now, that is the importance of other things coming into place. Now, let's understand that India and United States are the countries which have the highest consumption of calcium tablets. These are the countries which have the highest consumption of dairy as well. Now, these are also the countries which have the highest cases of osteoporosis and osteopenia. Now, why is this happening? If you're having a lot of dairy, if you're having a lot of calcium, and you are in a country which has a very good temperature, enough to get vitamin, why doesn't it work on you? Why are you still deficient? It is speaking about our over-reliance on calcium tablets, which is a quick fix. It is also speaking about our over-reliance on dairy. Now, let's understand that dairy till some time ago. Now, you would say that my grandparents had dairy, my parents had dairy, I had dairy, my children had dairy. Everyone is having milk, and that is the primary source of calcium, isn't it? What else will you get calcium from? But the body's ability to absorb dairy today, in today's generation or in today's world, is very different from what it was in the previous generation. Okay, now I'll give you a small fact. When you take a little bit of dairy, when you drink milk or you have a lot of yogurt, etc. Now, what typically happens is that this will your body can use 58% of calcium from this as a fuel for your body. Okay, what is the remaining 42%? The remaining 42% is now waste in your body, which is waste, that gets accumulated, and it is in the form of an acid waste. Now, when your body has a pH to maintain, your blood has a pH of 7.35 to 7.45. Now, it cannot go beyond this. It will lead to an condition of coma and lead to acidosis. It cannot come below. It can lead to, again, coma, acidosis, or alkalosis. So your body is going to do everything possible to make sure that your blood pH is maintained at 7.35 to 7.45. Now, to make this happen, when we are eating refined sources of food, when we are eating refined carbohydrates, when we're eating processed food, when we're eating junk food, when we are eating, a lot of dairy. Now, this dairy, that 42% is your toxic waste. Now, body realizes that this is acid waste. I need to neutralize this by making it a little more alkaline. Now, what does body do? Now, body figures out that in my body, I have certain storage where there is alkaline minerals that are stored. I need to leach them out and put it in here to make sure that the acid-alkaline balance is maintained. So what is the most alkaline substance in your body? What is the most alkaline mineral in your body? Calcium. So it leaches out calcium from your bones, and the easiest place where it can leach it out is through your joints. It's easy to remove it out of them. So it pulls out calcium from your bones and it puts it into your blood because now it wants to maintain this acid-alkaline balance. What happened to that one glass of milk that you drank? 42% was that acid waste. 52% was used as, fuel. Now this, because that acid waste had to be neutralized, this calcium was put back to neutralize that acid, and you are at zero calcium again. Now, cows can do it because they have 5 stomachs. Humans cannot do it. And primarily, your ancestors were to a certain extent able to do it because they had a lifestyle which is very different from ours today. We are fairly more sedentary than what our grandparents were, what our parents were. They were walking more than us. They were moving more than us. Unfortunately, we are not living that kind of lifestyle. And because we are not living that kind of lifestyle, we cannot absorb it. And hence, I'm not promoting veganism here. If you have to have dairy, have it by all means, but make sure that it is not the kind of milk that is hormone injected, which is very common today. Another myth that is surrounding around bones is that, the more of this calcium that I take, it will help my bones better. Now, let's understand that because your calcium, there is everything that gets into your body and has a toxic element. Your body has the self-healing capacity to excrete it out of the system. But there is one thing that your body cannot excrete if it is in excess, and that is calcium. So if you have an excess of calcium, because you're popping in a lot of tablets or because or it's just the wrong source of calcium that you're having, now this excess calcium becomes calcification deposits in your body. For women particularly, it can show up as breast tissue calcifications. For, sometimes it can show up as it can show up as cataract. So this excess calcium that is lying in your body, which is not able to get excreted now, is going to move all around your body, and it hides itself in specific spaces. So if it hides itself into the synovial fluid in between your joints, you have a joint problem. If it hides between certain, you may also have gout-like symptoms. You may also have cataract. If it goes and hides behind your eyes, you may have cataract. A lot of people who have these heart issues and they get themselves by the surgery mode, the blockages are removed out of it. These blockages are these white colored deposits. What is it? It is calcification deposits. It's the calcium that was not absorbed. To a large extent, it is that. So yes, that definitely is something that we need to look at when it comes to bones. Another reason why we may not be able to absorb calcium or make our bones strong is because of our gut microbiome. So if your gut microbiome is not strong and you have a state of dysbiosis, so there is good bacteria and there is bad bacteria. So if your good bacteria and bad bacteria both have a role to play, you need the good bacteria as much as you need the bad bacteria. Now, the problem happens when the bad bacteria is more and the good bacteria is less. That's when the problem happens. This state is called dysbiosis. So if your gut microbiome is not proper, it leaves a lot of undigested food inside your body. And this can lead to undigested food can ultimately, over a period of time, if it leads to constipation and your constipation stays with you for a longer period of time. Now, what does it convert into? Now, this undigested food and this constant habit of being constipated ultimately leads to crystal-induced arthritis. It takes you more than 8 years, it almost takes you 8 years to 15 years of wrong habits or a wrong lifestyle to ultimately get converted into an arthritis. Unfortunately, today kids are starting early with those mistakes, and hence you find a lot of people in their early 30s, 35s who are having arthritis, who are having osteopenia, who are having osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, osteoporosis. And that has become so common today, even in youngsters. It doesn't have to wait till you are 50 or 60. So yes, lifestyle matters. A lot of times when you see that whether it is your feet or whether it is your hand or there are certain parts of your bone wherein you see a bone growth. So like a small thing popping out on your, somewhere near the ankle or somewhere on your feet, like a small bone growth. You can touch it, you can feel it is hard. Now what is that? That is your calcification. This calcium, the place for calcium is inside your bones. The place for calcium is not outside your bones. When it is outside your bones and it sits over them, now this calcification can lead to bone spurs. This is bone spurs, this popping of that extra bone growth that you see. So yeah, the source of calcium is important. The quantity of calcium is important. And the knowledge about calcium is definitely important. Along with calcium, what is also important is the vitamin K2. And where is vitamin K2 coming from? Vitamin K2 is basically coming from bacteria. And this bacteria comes particularly from, it can come from your sauerkraut, it can come from your, a lot of bacteria-rich food. It could be your coconut yogurts, your peanut yogurts, or even a good source of dairy yogurt. Now, so what does vitamin K2 do? Now, vitamin K2 is responsible to make sure that the calcium, which is in a place where it should not be, and it moves into a place where it should be. So the transport from the wrong place to the right place is done by calcium. Is done by K2, vitamin K2. So that's one reason today you see a lot of calcium supplements into the market, which are a combination of calcium and K2. And nowadays, they're also a combination of calcium and K2 and zinc and etc. So figure out what is the best way of you getting calcium. And there is nothing better than your leafy greens. So include a lot of leafy greens into your salads, include it into your meals, whether it is breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and you will see a visible difference in your joints, in your bone health overall.
What's your, if I may ask a question, what's your views on milk and milk products from a calcium point of view?
Yeah, sure.
Mohan. Sorry, hi. Just a quick one. In terms of housekeeping, what we had suggested is that we leave the Q&A till the last because it just disturbs the chain.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Thanks, appreciate it. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Moving forward, I think another very, very important thing that is required for a good health of your bones is movement. What is really required is exercise. Now it's a very common thing to say that, exercise is required for a number of things. Of course, it is required for your joint friction, but let's understand why is it that exercise really helps us. And especially women, if they do not have a very defined exercise routine, especially after their menopause, or during the time when they're going through a menopause or they're about to reach a menopause, it can definitely hamper the bone health, the bone density, the bone mass. So having an exercise routine is very important, but I'll help you understand why is it important. So when you do exercise, when there is movement, now whether it is walking, whether it is lifting of weights, whether it is your jumping jacks, or whether it is just rebounding, whatsoever suits you. Now what happens is that your joints are going through friction. When there is friction, there is this there is silica in between, so silica is going through friction. Now, when the silica is going through friction, there is an electrical impulse that is generated. Electrical current is generated. Now, this has to do with the signaling system into your body. So as soon as this electric current is generated, it gives a signal that now there has to be bone mineralization. So unless and until there is movement, unless and until there is friction created, unless and until silica experiences that, the silica friction happens, the electrical impulse is not generated, the electrical current is not generated, and because of which there is no signal that is provided to make sure that there is mineralization of the bones. Now your bones have to be mineralized. So all of these 12 minerals and 64 trace minerals that we just spoke about have to enter inside the bones. Now, calcium is the king mineral. Now, why do we call it king mineral? We simply call it king mineral because it enters your cells first. So if calcium is not able to enter your cells, no other mineral can enter in, because calcium enters first and it paves the way for all the other minerals to enter inside. And hence, so people who are deficient in calcium will automatically start having a whole lot of other mineral deficiencies into their body. That's one reason why it is called a king mineral. So when this friction happens, the electrical impulse is generated, this mineralization process begins. These minerals start entering inside your bones. It makes your bone density stronger, bone mass stronger, bone health stronger. There is a huge myth around bones today. People believe that bones are supposed to be rock solid. Bones are supposed to be like an iron rod. They're not flexible. They are not supposed to bend. Now, this is another myth, because your bones are actually brittle also. They are flexible also, and they are strong also. So that's one reason when you fall down from a height. Now, supposing you fall on your arm, or you fall on your thigh or your feet, or when you fall down from a height, your bones, because they are flexible, they are able to bend and they are able to come back to its place. Now, this is very important, because if this flexibility did not exist, the chances of breakage would be more. So yes, your bones, now what is causing this brittleness in your bones and what is causing this flexibility and remolding of your bones is two cells, which is osteoclasts and osteoblasts. Now, osteoclasts identify those areas of your bone which are degenerating. They identify what are the spaces where wear and tear is required, and they go and target those spaces. Okay, so now if there is some degeneration happening in my wrist joint, the osteoclasts are going to make it little brittle, and they are going to make sure the wear and tear happens. They are going to break them down, and then osteoblasts will come in to regenerate and remold them. So you need osteoclasts to make sure that the wear and tear happens. You are able to get rid of that part of your bone which requires a wear and tear, and osteoblasts come in to kind of build them again, remold them again. Now, where do you get osteoblasts from? Exercise. If you do not exercise, if you do not move, you will not have enough osteoblasts to be able to actually work on your joints, and you will ultimately keep going through a degenerating process and not really remolding and building your bones back. So osteoblasts are very important, which does require movement. And that's one reason why exercise is so critical. Now, what exercise should you do? Whatever suits you. Whether you do a yoga or you choose to do, jumping jacks, or, especially if you have children, who are in their 20s or in their 30s, please make sure that one, they are exposed to good sunlight, and two, or even young children, they are exposed to good sunlight, and two, they are doing some form of jumping, especially women, because if you want a good health after your 40s and in your 50s, your bone health, then you need to work on it since you are in your 20s, since you are in your 30s. You need to start building strong bones, which will come from exercise. Now, why I'm saying particularly women? Because research shows to us that women are more stressed than men in almost every part of the world. Now, because of this stress, because of the cortisol levels are higher, and also they go through, the pregnancy process where they lose certain calcium. They go through menopause where they lose calcium. There is a lot of hormonal imbalances that keeps happening, and hence they need to have an exercise regime that makes sure that your old age is taken care of. It's a myth to believe that because I am in old age, because I'm hitting my 50s and because I'm hitting my 60s, my bones are naturally going to get weak. No, they are not supposed to. Your muscles and your bones are not age dependent. They are dependent on your lifestyle. They're dependent on the nutrition. They're dependent on your movement. So I'd say that if you have a wrist pain or if you have some finger pains, in any of your joints, please move it more often. Give it a little more exercise. If your joints in your fingers have started to begin paining very recently, go get those, those stress balls that you get, go and use that more often, because what it will do, it will make sure that this movement happens. Of course, silica will do its work, and the electrical impulse gets generated and your bone mineralization will happen. Secondly, when there is movement, you are making sure that there is greater circulation in that area. So when you're making sure that there is greater circulation in that area, there is blood rushing in. What does blood bring? Now, blood is a natural healer. Now, blood is, along with it, bringing fluids. It is also bringing nutrition. It is also bringing oxygen. It is also bringing hormones. And it's bringing everything that your bone requires to heal by itself. So if you have started getting some pains and aches in any part of your bones, don't sit thinking that, oh, I need to give rest to this place because, this pain is aching right now. If I give rest and I do not move for 2 days, 3 days, then, automatically, no, it's going to get worse by doing that. Move. Give friction. Of course, we don't have to overdo it, and we realize when we overdo it. We don't have to overdo it, but we don't have to completely stagnate them and not have any movement because the pains have started. It won't heal by itself. You have to work towards it. A lot of people believe that, we will have a great life if we are rich and if we have a wealthy lifestyle, and I will have good food at my place and, everything at my disposal. But unfortunately, a lot of these lifestyles are taking us, it's actually regressing us. It's actually taking us back. Just 1 minute, Akshay. I just want to tell you, I'm not really keeping a track of time. So if you think I am going a little overboard in time and I need to stop, please give me a signal. I will just stop.
I think we do have 5 more minutes.
Oh, okay, sure. So I'll quickly move on.
Thanks.
I spoke about constipation and how it leads to crystal-induced arthritis. I spoke about a sedentary lifestyle. Now, when we are speaking about, a lot of wealthy people are also malnutritioned, not because they have dearth of food, but they have the dearth of quality food. So when you're having a lot of refined food and a lot of processed food and a lot of, junk food, it is ultimately leading to acid levels being high in your body. Now, I told you when we spoke about dairy some time back, when these acid levels are rising up, your body is leaching calcium from your joints. It's leaching calcium from your bones and putting it back to make sure that the acid-alkaline balance is maintained. So you are ultimately losing calcium because of the food choices that you make. If you do not have vitamin D, you will not be able to absorb calcium. If you do not have magnesium, you will not be able to absorb calcium. If you do not have a good hydrochloric acid, a good stomach acid, you will not be able to absorb calcium, which will ultimately lead to calcification deposits. A lot of hormonal imbalances also lead to bone health. Now, what are these hormonal imbalances? Whether it is stress. So if you are overstressed, the cortisol levels are rising, inflammation is rising, yes, it's going to make a difference to your bone health. If you have irregular sleeping patterns, that is going to determine whether you have hormonal balancing or not. So someday I'm sleeping at 9, someday I'm sleeping at 12, someday I'm sleeping at 1 in the night. No, you need to have a regular pattern. Let's understand that, if we read a little bit about circadian rhythms, it's very important that we, the hormonal balancing time, according to the time clock in which our body functions, the hormonal balancing happens between 9:30 in the night to 2:30 in the night. Now, unfortunately, that is one time when we are not always asleep. And we are sometimes sleeping, sometimes not sleeping, but that is the time when your body is working on your hormonal balancing. So if you move on and you're sleeping at 12:30 and 1 o'clock in the night, unfortunately, you've lost on the time when your body could actually work on hormonal balancing, and you remain with it. This leads to a variety of other issues. It could lead to gut issues. It can lead to bone-related issues. It can lead to a host of autoimmune diseases and can definitely increase a lot of inflammation into your body. Acidity levels, if increased by the way of a lot of refined sugar, a lot of smoking, or regular habits of alcohol on a daily basis, the wrong source of salt. I think the best source of salt is your Himalayan pink salt or your rock salt, or senda namak as they call it. But if you are taking a lot of your iodized salt available freely into the market, it may not always help you because it has only 2 ingredients. You require 12 minerals, 64 trace minerals, and a lot of these minerals come into your rock salt and senda namak, which is potassium rich, and it has a lot more minerals than what your regular salts in the market usually marketed have. So, and a lot of junk food coupled with it increases your acid levels. And when it increases your acid levels in the blood, your body is going to, your lungs and kidney are going to work tremendously hard to make sure your blood pH is maintained between 7.35 to 7.45. And it is going to leach your calcium. It is going to continue making your bones brittle. So what do you require? Prevention requires being aware of the circadian rhythm, which means you have to sleep in time, you have to wake up in time, you have to have your food at the time when, so that you get about 2.5 hours, 3 hours before your sleeping time. That's when your melatonin will be able to rush in. If your body is busy digesting because you had food late, your liver is going to go into another rhythm and your melatonin is not going to get secreted well, because of which you will not have good sleep. And if you don't have good sleep, your body cannot detox. The whole process of what these osteoclasts and osteoblasts are doing will not happen. So diet, nutrition is one thing. Stress, I spoke about. Detoxification is another thing. What you can have as a part of your nutrition is pineapple. It has bromelain. It works very well for you. You could have black sesame seeds. Now, black sesame seeds will make, they have a lot of copper and zinc. It will help towards your bone health. You can have soaked fenugreek water. The fenugreek soaked into water, next morning drinking it, that will help you. You could also have water in copper vessels. I would not recommend that to be doing it all throughout the year. But yeah, there are certain intervals in time when you want to do it. It will help you for making your tendons and your muscles strong. You could chew holy basil, tulsi, and raw potato juice will also tremendously help you. Akshay, am I overshooting the time?
Yeah, what I thought is it's the right time to take a break here, because I'm sure there'll be zillions of queries up there. We have about 15 minutes for the queries. Whoever wants to kick off can kick off. I can either raise your hand or put on your video, and we can then see all of you, and then you can just raise your hand, and Shweta can just decide on the answering. But Shweta, before the queries start, you had just taken off on what I thought would be of interest to all of us on the various foodstuffs. So would you like to repeat those 6 or 7 things you spoke about?
Sure.
Yeah.
Nothing works better than green leafy vegetables. These are going to give you minerals, it's going to give you vitamins, it's going to give you everything possible that is required for not just your bones, but overall health. So green leafy vegetables cannot be missed. It's also alkaline. It brings in nitric oxide, it has a good balance of calcium and potassium, which have to be in a right proportion. So green leafy vegetables are a must. You would like to focus on pineapples. You'd like to focus on a lot of salads before your meals. Please do not start your meals without salads, because of course it brings in alkalinity. It also brings in fiber, which helps you digest better, which means that your bones will not suffer because of gut microbiome related issues. You could also focus on black sesame seeds. Now, black sesame seeds are extremely rich in copper. They are extremely rich in zinc. So black sesame seeds will definitely help you. White sesame seeds as well, but black, usually when you look at medications or treatments or healing properties, it's black sesame seeds that is usually recommended. You could also have water of soaked fenugreek. So if you soak fenugreek into water and keep it overnight, next morning drink water, and also chew off those fenugreek seeds along with it. What it does is that, yes, it helps towards your bones. It will also help tremendously towards your hormonal imbalancing. So you will not have bone issues because of hormonal imbalancing. You will have a lot of strength to your muscles and strength to your tendons if you drink water from copper vessels. However, it's not advisable to do it at all times throughout the year longs. But if you could just focus on it, say for a month or so, and then give it a break, and then do it after a particular break again, then copper vessel is, because we do not want any, metal toxicity, sustained use of a regular metal is also not good. So you could give it a break after a month and then come back. Tulsi will help, chewing tulsi, or simply just making a concoction, a tea concoction with your holy basil, with your tulsi will help tremendously. What tremendously helps, particularly your bones, is a raw potato juice. And it may sound very gross when I'm saying this, but what is raw potato juice now? Now, potatoes which have these green shoots are not the ones we use here. The potatoes without those green shoots, if you may just grate a potato, you squeeze in, you get raw potato juice. Okay, it's not difficult to make. If you have just this much before your bedtime, now what does it do? It has copper, it has iron, it has zinc, it has fiber, it has magnesium, it has vitamin B as well as vitamin C, it has protein, it has manganese, it has potassium, it has all essential minerals that your bones require. It would also have protein. Now, protein, the collagen matrix is very important to keep your bone health well. So it reduces inflammation, it reduces uric acid, it increases your circulation, it keeps your body alkaline, and it keeps you away from diseases like cancer and eczema. Yeah, so these are certain things that I would definitely suggest as far as nutrition is concerned.
Okay, so Mohan, you want to get in now? Hello?
Yes, thanks, Akshay.
Yeah.
So thanks. I think this was very, very interesting. We learned a lot. So basically, I had one question regarding calcium. There's been a lot of talk about milk and milk products on one side, and the other side saying it's very bad for humans. So I don't know. So what is the truth?
Yeah, I did address this right in the beginning of the session, that there is a lot of myth going around about calcium, and it is largely propagated by the pharma companies. And this use of calcium carbonate as calcium tablets, or calcium from the wrong sources, like it could even be dairy, because our digestibility or absorption capability of today's generation is very different than on what it was in the previous generation, right? So yes, calcium from the wrong source can lead to a problem. Calcium in the wrong quantum can lead to a problem. Now let's see, when your heart pumps, what does it require? It requires contraction, and it does relaxation. What enables this contraction is calcium. What enables this relaxation is magnesium. So when you have stiffness on certain parts of your body, you need magnesium because you need relaxation. This contraction happens because of calcium. But if you have a wrong source of calcium, which, say for example, if you're having a lot of calcium carbonate, excess of these calcium tablets in the market today, excess of everything is bad. I'm not saying against calcium tablets. Doctors do suggest it, but But sometimes, many times, it is just used as a quick fix without going through your natural sources. And that may not really help you. Excess of calcium will lead to these calcification deposits, which can lead to bone spurs. It can lead to blockages in your arteries. It can lead to breast tissue calcification in different parts of your body. It can lead to cataract.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that is one thing. And as far as dairy is concerned, I spoke about the proportion of how much gets used and how much does not get used, and how much of acid waste it ultimately generates. And because of this acid waste, ultimately your body leaches calcium from your bones to be able to make sure that your blood pH is maintained in an acid-alkaline balance, which further degenerates your own bone health.
Sorry, I missed the first 10 minutes of your. I got stuck in a traffic, and by the time I reached, so I think it was some essential 10 minutes of yours. So anyway, thank you so much. It was very useful. Thank you.
Shweta, sorry, Bhavna has a question that sometimes you develop white spots on the skin. Could that also be due to calcium deficiency, or?
It could, but this also has a lot to do with your detoxification process. So, whether or not you follow circadian rhythms, which means, the moment you start having a balanced diet, and when I say balanced diet, I don't want to typically say roti, sabzi, dal, chawal. You could have it in whatever, today, and now there is a lot of things that you can even speak about wheat, and that's not the topic of today's discussion. But when you have enough of fruits, when you have enough of nuts and seeds, when you have enough of green leafy vegetables, and when you have a good balance of raw as well as cooked food, it takes care of everything. It actually takes care of a lot of things. Of course, you need to make a lot of changes in your lifestyle. Your detoxification process has to begin by making sure that you follow circadian rhythms. Your body takes care. It has the self-healing mechanism to, take care. Now, why are these white spots coming in? Because of unabsorbed calcium also. It's not necessarily to do only with, as I said, right in the beginning of the session, it's not so much about calcium intake, or it's not so much about intake as much as it is about absorption of most minerals, unfortunately.
Okay. Anybody, any query?
I have a query.
Yeah, be a little louder. Yeah.
Hi, Shweta. Thanks for the talk. It was really, really good. I have a query about green leafy vegetables. In a cooked form, are they equally good? For example, palak and methi that we use in Indian food a lot, or saag?
Yeah. So today, the way the farming process has evolved, there is a lot of chemicals and there is a lot of pesticides that are unfortunately used in the farming process, especially in your leafy greens. So you need to be cautious of that. So if you are in a position to, get hold of organic food, especially green leafy vegetables, do not compromise on organic green leafies, because that's, you can have it in the raw form. So what I typically sometimes do is I make a salad and I chop a lot of coriander, a lot of mint leaves, a lot of sometimes spinach, and even I don't know, in Maharashtra it's called shepu. I'm not sure what it is called in English. I'm forgetting the name. But you put all these green leafy vegetables on your, on your salad. You add a little bit of tahini, which is your sesame. Very, very good for your health. You put all of this together, salt, pepper, and it tastes amazing. It feels refreshing. It's alkaline. You can have it in the raw form. You can have it in the raw form. And if you have to have it in the cooked form, don't overcook them. Don't add water when you're making these green leafy vegetables. Let it cook in its own water. Every green leafy vegetables while cooking leaves its own water. So don't add extra water to it. Let it cook in its own water, and it's good to have it. You need a balance of both.
Okay, thanks.
Shweta, could you just spell out the osteoclast and osteoblast? I just missed that a bit.
So in the sense, you want me to explain that again?
Just very briefly. I mean, I've got the gist of it. One identifies the degeneration and the other fills it up. But what is the spelling again? How do you spell it?
So osteoclasts is osteoclasts.
Oh, okay.
osteoblasts is osteoblasts. So osteoclasts are actually doing the degeneration, removing the degenerated bones and kind of making them brittle and taking them away. And osteoblasts is responsible for remolding them and getting healthier, stronger bones.
Okay. All right. And so, coming back to the basic question on the quantity of calcium and the source of calcium, I'm slightly unclear on how to get these both right.
Yeah. Now let's, one thing that I spoke in the session was that your body is able to self-heal and eliminate any excess that it has in your body, but it will not be able to eliminate excess of calcium, right? So it is not able to throw out calcium. That's the one reason why excess of calcium becomes calcification deposits. Now that is a limitation. If you have excess potassium, your body can throw it. If you have excess of any other mineral, your body can throw it out. Unfortunately, that is not the case with calcium. So, I'm sorry, can you repeat that question again?
I just want to understand, because how do I know I have adequate calcium, and where do I source it from? Is it only green and leafy vegetables, which you mentioned?
So calcium will also come from your legumes. It will also come from your green leafy vegetables. It will come from your raw salads. It will come from anything green, whether you have it lettuce or this is more calcium rich in its absorbable form. Okay. Now, when I was speaking about calcification, now I just understood where I was trying to link it to. The absorption is best when you have it through green leafy vegetables. You almost absorb the entire quantum. But absorption is lower when you have it through sources like your calcium supplements or when you have it through dairy. And that's when your waste starts getting accumulated. Which leads to
Okay. And is there any level of calcium
even black sesame seeds that I spoke to you about gives you good calcium. Your nuts give you good calcium. It is important to have nuts when they are soaked. So if you're having soaked almonds, they will have, you will have more properties out of it as compared to just eating it dry. So all your nuts, your seeds, whether it is your pumpkin seeds, whether it is your sesame seeds, whether it is your flax seeds. Now, omega-3 has such a rich source. Your omega-3 is absolutely important for your bone health and definitely not something you should miss out on. So whether it is your flax seeds, it will, nowadays, especially in India, a lot of our ancestors, and I remember my grandparents and my parents, everyone would make this chutney out of flax seeds. And it's very readily available on YouTube on what are the different dishes you can make out of flax seeds. Try it in the form that you like, but yes, omega-3 is important.
Okay, dokes. Anybody, any queries? Last comments? Shweta, I'll share with you one or two have written on what they would like to cover perhaps in the next session.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Everybody can unmute, actually.
Yeah, everybody can unmute and you can have your video on as well. And would you be okay to share your specific email address if somebody has a query?
Sure. My email address.
You have a video recording of
I'll write it down in the chat.
No, I do.
I'll write it.
You recorded the whole thing, Akshay?
Yes, we have.
Good. So you're going to put it on YouTube or what?
Not yet. Shweta, of course, is a YouTuber big time herself. But we can share the link later for sure.
Yeah, I missed the first 10 minutes.
I am a YouTuber, but very newly started. So.
Oh, is it? Okay. Yeah, maybe you can share some link or something. Video.
Yeah. Yep. Madhvi, you wanted to ask something?
Email address in the chat.
Yeah.
No, I just wanted to thank Shweta and also thank you, Akshay, for organizing this. What I liked about the way Shweta presented her thoughts was that so many questions I had got answered during the talk itself.
Okay.
The problems and so thank you very much, Shweta. And I hope we can do something like this again. Thank you, Akshay.
Definitely.
Thanks a lot. So,
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Great.
The YouTube channel is also Shweta.Honagudi. It's by my name.
Okay.
Thank you, Akshay. Thank you, Shweta. It was really nice. I'm logging off.
Yeah. Sure. We are winding off as well.
Okay.
Shweta, thanks again for everything.
Thank you.
And we'll chat separately for the next session.
Definitely.
And people feel free to just WhatsApp to me or Meena or anybody on what topic would you like Shweta to cover next time.
Sure.
And we'll see how it goes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a great weekend.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Cheers. Bye.
Thank you.